So you've been using your camera to record your online worship, uploading it maybe to Facebook Live or to YouTube or some other streaming platform. But the time has come now when you realise you want to move beyond that. You want something a little better, a little slicker, maybe with text and overlays, with different graphics and the ability to play and cue videos as you wish them. So today I want to introduce you to the platform that I use, which is called vMix. vMix is created by a group of Australian Christians, and it has many facilities specifically for churches, including scripture overlays and lots of other things that make the process work very well. It is effectively a software mixer. So whereas in the olden days it used to be done with lots and lots of dials and knobs on a piece of hardware, now it all can occur on screen. There are lots of different versions that are available, but the one I use is the standard version. It produces output at DVD quality. You can go all the way up to high definition and even 4K, but as you can see that will cost you extra. For $150 I get up to 1,000 different kinds of inputs, which is more than I shall ever need, 4 overlays and all the other facilities that I need to make my productions at least look thought over, cared through, and therefore actually usable by the members of our congregation. So what I'm going to do is move to show you the basic screen when you fire up. So here we have the screen of vMix. We have a preview screen and we have an output screen. Nothing's been set up at the moment, so there's nothing there. Let's add the first input and add a camera to everything. Let's select camera, cover some of the enormous quantities of options you've got shortly, and select that camera. So there you can see my camera. It's just connected via an Elgato card. If I can lift that up, here we are. Here is the Elgato card. It takes the output from the camera, converts it into USB 3 and plugs into my computer over there. My input is being handled and recorded for me directly, but I'm just going to show you now. If I add input, I'm going to select an audio input. I'm going to select one of a number of microphones that I happen to have. I'm going to choose that one because I hope it won't cause too much in the way of echoing. Turn my volume down so you can see everything working here on the screen. I have video, I have audio. I can have a couple of cameras that I can cut to because luckily my main computer also has an integrated camera like a webcam camera. So let's choose that one, put it as number 3, and there's number 3, and you can see me there. So to choose between each shot, I can select here. If I cross zoom or cut, let's do cut first, straight cut between the 2 cameras that I'm using, one on the side and one in front of me. I can do more interesting different things. I can merge. And my particular favourite, which I use all the time, is the cross zoom. It just looks a little bit more better as we move from one piece of graphic to another. All sorts of different kinds of effects you can use. As usual, don't overuse effects. Use something consistently and clearly, and you can see there's all different kinds of transitions that you can use between them. I can record the audio, and I can use this as a mixing desk in order to record it out to a file for maybe for later use, or I can broadcast it to any one of a number of streaming services. Let me call those up. I actually have mine set up to speak directly to Twitch, but there are plenty of other defaults that you could use, maybe for Periscope, which would log into, or for Twitter, that is Twitter, or for Facebook Live, configure the settings, or indeed for YouTube Live. Straight out of the box using the information you've got there, and you can broadcast straight to any one or any number of these streaming services. I'm told that you could actually stream consecutively to 3 different streaming services in one go, but I'm afraid my computer doesn't have the power to be able to do that for me. This is my setup, and I'm going to save and close that there. Clicking to go live on streaming is as simple as pressing this button here and going live. I won't use that now because I don't want to disturb my live stream. So let's look at some of the other clever things that we can do with this thing. Different kinds of inputs. I can add overlays on the screen. I'll go to the title thing. All of these are standard overlays that are available to every user. So that can include, for example, a spinning graphic. I quite like to have one of these because then it means that you can have a logo bouncing around at the top. It means that people can see that it clearly is your input. And I can select an image from my computer. There it happens to be. And you can see that when enabled, I tend to put it at number 4. When I choose to overlay that on the screen, sorry, from here, you'll see that appears. Now you might think, oh, that's a bit far down, I don't really want it on screen like that. So I can edit all of these things as and when I need. So here it is, all its callings. If I change position, I can move it. I can zoom it in and out, so I could make it, let's move it somewhere where I can see it in the middle. I could zoom it up so it's bigger than I wanted it, or of course I can put it exactly where I want it and place it on screen. I quite like it up in the top or the bottom left hand corner. And the same can apply to all of these kinds of overlays. Here's overlay 4 working for me. Let's have a title screen, or an overlay rather. Let's choose one of these ones. You see these kinds of things all the time on news programs, don't you? So and we can preview those just by placing it on screen. Again, that looks okay, but I don't like that gap there, so what I'm going to do is again change the position of it and drag it and drop it maybe to the bottom so that it looks like that, or maybe even do it from the top, whichever you prefer. And notice that if different ones have different kinds of transitions, move it on and off the screen as and when we need it. You can add timers, so countdown timers, for example. You're due to start your service at 9 o'clock. Have a countdown so that if you start the stream early, people know that they've got 5 minutes to wait before it actually starts. Very useful. And of course, we can add all different kinds of other things to schedule. For example, videos. Let us choose a nice video to play. I like to have everything configured in an area, and we can have from Holy Trinity yesterday, we can have a lovely version of the Sanctus by CJM. I'm just adding these ones here. I could choose to play that directly, just to play the audience or quick play, or I can queue it up as ready to go. Even select where it's going to start playing from. Illustrate that same. But the moment I click on the fade, it starts to play, which you probably can't hear because I've got the audio channeled into my recording. But as I mentioned before, we come to here. Maybe I wanted to start here, straight in at a certain point in the video that I've got queued up, and it picks up exactly from where it needed to start. Very, very useful, very powerful. And of course you can stop and restart and all the other kinds of controls you have. You can even loop something entirely. So when you're moving along and playing, if loop is set, we come to the end. Notice 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back to the beginning again. So you just have a video running as a loop to start people and gathering them along. Other kinds of input that we like, let's just get our new picture placed, is that we might want to have a PowerPoint. This is very, very useful, because therefore we are able to have words on screen and we are able to put them into practice. So if I go to where I'm storing all my graphics, I've created a liturgy, a graphic for all of the liturgies. And it loads them into the system and enables me to play them as and when I need. Its default position, here it is to, once one engages to play it, is to play through, if I go live with this you'll see, is to play through it. So every couple of seconds, maybe we have a slideshow of different images or thoughts or reflections or prayers, and it can play through. But for this slideshow in particular, that's not terribly useful, because actually I want to call it up and use it as and when I need it. So what I'm going to do to that is show the slideshow settings. Notice we can change the effects and everything. And I'm going to set it to 0 so it only changes when I want it to. And maybe we could have let's have a cross zoom effect on that. So when I call this up now as live, it will only go forward when I tell it to, and it cross zooms, as you can see, because I've asked it to. You may wonder why this particular one here has a panel marked in the corner. Well, that's because I can do something really rather clever with this. Go back to a normal picture while I'm creating it. I can create from this input a mixture of inputs. So let me add a simple one. Let's just start it with a black or a transparent screen. And with this one, I'm going to say I want 2 different inputs into this. Multi-view. And in this multi-view, let's start it on its most basic. We could have it in this format. So my first input would be the camera, and the second input can be the PowerPoint. I fear I may have got these the wrong way around, but we'll find out in a minute. And then we can change the position of them from the main view or the overlay. Yes, I've put them the wrong way around. Typical, isn't it? Let's go and correct that, because of course if you make a mistake it's not a problem. You just change it round. Slides underneath and video on top. So let's go to the position of overlay number 2. Move that, let's say to there. I don't know how big I want it to be. We'll make it a little smaller, shall we? Trial and error. And once I've got it ready, I can save it, of course. Move to overlay 1. Move this one. I'm going to make that bigger so basically it fills up the entire screen. And you can see what I've managed to do here. By moving overlay 2 into the right position, I can have, there we are, I can have a slideshow if I go live with this one. and have this one as my second camera, I can have a slideshow that moves between the camera shot and the words, and a camera shot, line this one up, and then merge that. What I've actually set up in my live performances is a keyboard setting that advances the slideshow on particular slot 7, advances the slideshow every time I press, for example, the N key, and then I don't have to worry about changing between the camera shot and the overlaid shot, and I can handle that entirely ready. But that is a very effective way of providing words on screen as and when we need them. Lots of other facilities available in this. I can add words in all sorts of different ways. We could use, let's go back to a camera shot there. We can create an input that, for example, might want to include an image or a whole color or a title, and you will notice there are some versions down here that allow you to put a given scripture on. So apologising if there was any spelling mistakes in there. I suppose I ought to capitalise it, shouldn't I? And we can add an image on this as well. 280 by 280. I haven't actually got any images for that, so we won't do that, but we could have an image on it as well. And you'll notice if I had this, I could show these words. I could overlay them onto 3, and we could have the text and the graphic and all the things that we need on our screen. So a good way of illustrating scriptures and delaying them. Get rid of something, close it off. I suppose I'm going to show you now my primary configuration. So this is the standard setup that I have for my system. We have a number of different screens, the cameras, as we spoke about, the front camera, the camera that's currently plugged into my side because it's got nowhere better to look at, could be the altar, my headset, my slides, input of audio from a Zoom call, so we can use Zoom to say the offices together and then broadcast that as a result. Nice overlays, so I can, with a button press and a shortcut, simply advertise who on earth that fat man on the screen is. Given graphics and a number of different desktop captures. You can see the desktop capture here. The reason I wanted to show you this, if we go to screen mode, you can see that I can call up the daily office and walk through the daily office on screen on the left whilst broadcasting just that screen. Very useful so people can see the words on screen while hearing me say them at the same time. This also means that the daily office can be done live and done quite effectively. vMix is something that I am continuing to discover and learn about. There are lots of different opportunities and lots of different ways that we can improve it, but I hope that this has been a good introduction to you and to show you that for a comparatively little amount of money we can produce something that looks quite slick and quite effective. Thank you very much for watching.